Sue, session 3 of our discussion around rent rolls, buying, selling, and today's project management. Thanks for coming back.
You're welcome. Glad to be back.
Something that you've been doing a lot of is the project management facilitation. You and Ali getting your hands pretty dirty in that, given how busy it's been in that space.
Yeah.
What does that look like? So, if you engage you or someone to do project management, is that from when, and what's the scope, and what are the sort of things that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I always say to my clients, let me come in before you exchange the contract, because once you've signed an exchange, we cannot make any changes. Okay. So I can help you with the term sheets. I can help you with, making sure that you've got all the clauses in place that are going to support you and help you along the way. Once we get that done, you exchange the contract. I can help you with your transition. In terms of making sure that you've got agreements in place with your seller, or if you're buying or selling, it doesn't really matter, but making sure you've got agreement in terms of communication on how you're going to let your clients know and when. That's really, really important, because everyone has an idea in their mind as to when they want to let their clients know that the whole transaction has taken place. And
then no one does it. Often I've been sitting in offices the day of settlement and I'm like, so does your customer know about this?
Yeah.
Oh, and they all look at each other. Yeah. So I think, we've got that exchange to settlement checklist, which really starts to carry some weight. And just to give everybody a bit of an idea, that's about 22 pages of stuff that's got to be done. Yes, it is anal retentive and there's a lot in there, but it's to ensure that you have world-class client experience, minimal leakage, you protect your asset, and you've got the right figures and numbers on the day. What are some of the things, Sue? So let's just say we exchange, you help with the paperwork. How do you kind of settle that up? What does that look like, that whole project management facilitation piece?
Yeah, so really important, you need to have an Excel spreadsheet started. It needs to be something that you're going to be able to manage for that length of time during your retention process. All the properties need to be on there, and basically everything that we look at that's in the contract needs to be taken into account.
So if we're not paying for it unless there's a valid agreement.
Correct. Loss management, sold properties, there's quite a long list. Yeah. We just need to make sure that we capture all that content and information.
Yeah. And even better, guys, too, if when we're talking about these Excel spreadsheets, feeding with formulas and things are quite good as well. We like to make sure that that's set up in a central, secure location. So anything that the solicitors need to look at, the accountants, buyer and seller or key staff is in a centralized location where everyone can have access. You can see who's going in at what time, and there's not emails flying, back and forth, because that's when wrong information goes to the wrong people. There's security risks. What are some of the things, Sue, so not even at retention, but, between exchange and settlement, or after settlement and retention, that people forget? What are some of the things that, you sometimes scratch your head, or things where from a project management side, we can help lighten the load?
Yeah. So what we do is, looking at the alignment of your processes as well. Okay. So this is really, really important, where you said a lot of people do forget to get it done. A lot of things drop off and you don't find out until months later, and you're like, where is this invoice coming from? Why am I having to pay this? So it's really important we get that right. So things like trial migrations. Okay. If you're looking at changing systems, not everyone's on the same system. We recognize that, but you need to get that right, because
what's really, going to come across important. And what's not. Yeah.
Correct. Trial migration of systems for your property management, trust accounting system, rental, how are you collecting rents? Is your trust account set up? Okay, your payments to your rents, because the last thing you want is for difficulty for your tenants to be paying rents and then your owners, not being able to get
terrible
paid.
Stories around that, guys.
Yeah.
Tragic stories. Yeah.
Yeah. So making sure that's smooth, okay, and seamless. Induction and onboarding, okay, of your new team, right? So again, another really, really important process, getting the new team across, making them feel welcome. Are they aligned with your processes? What are their processes like? There might be some good ideas, across the two, making sure communication's there, but getting that right onboarding process for your teams is really important and crucial for your clients.
On day one, Sue, we had an office the other day. The new people rocked up, no desks, no equipment.
Yeah.
No phones. Like, the world does not stop. So making sure that that's all settled in, they feel good about it, getting them the employee handbook beforehand, letting them know they're going to be nervous, like new people coming in, make them get that shot in the arm, make them excited about the journey that's ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And things like, people forget about emails as well. Okay, emails, there's so much content, letters, facts, evidence, whatever you want to call it, in people's emails, right? So make sure if you're buying a rent roll, that those emails from your seller are coming across to you or getting diverted somehow, okay, for a length of time. That needs to be written in as well.
And how about our favourite? Is there a storage shed somewhere where I should be aware of some records? Or we had one the other day underneath the building. There were all these documents that we couldn't find that were underneath the building. Or, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you, we moved from this system to that system 2 years ago. So everything before 2 years is in that system. So these are all things to consider. Tell me about, REA and domain and reviews. What should I be thinking of in that space?
Yeah, exactly, as well. So you need to speak to your REA and domain reps, okay? Get that process started with bringing across the content there, okay, from the data. Really, really important to get it right, because that also takes time to manage and migrate over. And getting the content and information right on your company and what's going to be displayed. Suppliers as well, who are the suppliers? Invoices.
Yeah.
Yep. When the last invoice is getting paid. Employment agreements. Okay, that's another big one, right? Not only making sure they're there, but that they're signed. Okay, make sure they're signed. Because you'll need them. Obviously, from your new ones, you need to re-sign new ones. Even
sign's always a good facility for that.
Exactly. So depending on your structure, again, covering off employee entitlements as well, making sure you understand, what you're up for, okay, on both sides, what you're liable for, okay, to cover
and
off.
Looking at any of those exemptions around, number of employees that you've got. And we won't talk to that too much today, but obviously, if you've got below a certain amount of employees and things, make sure you speak to, Real Estate Employers Federation around that, or somebody that specialises in that space. So you're reducing the burden on yourselves. So something that, I'd love to know, it's funny, we all work together every day, but sometimes we'll work on 5 or 6 of these and only get a chance to talk about the things that either go really right or really wrong. Something often when I'm dealing with vendors, I'm like, now tell me about your runoff insurance. What's in place for that? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I'm just going to wrap everything up when I get on that plane to Europe. Well, runoff insurance, you need to talk to your insurance provider around that. And also for buyers is making sure that, the person they're buying it from has got runoff insurance, because we know when things go wrong, they come after the people who are insured or got the money or the asset. So that's something that I see. What are other things that you see that people forget about in that process after settlement?
Yeah, getting passwords. Okay, logins, passwords, whether it's for your REI account, if you've got REI forms, whatever you're doing your inspections on. There's so many plug-in techs that we've got, access
and the
to.
Transfer of ownership, right?
Transfer of ownership, yes, you need to get access to that, because obviously, property management doesn't stop. The day-to-day running doesn't stop. So, we need to make sure we get everything.
Yeah. Bonds are another big one. So if you don't own the freehold and you're leasing, transferring the bonds, or you're the vendor getting your bond back, and getting the bond from the buyer if they're moving into the premises that you're in. These are little things that, unless they're on a list or a project management, people forget about them.
Yeah, sometimes you actually need to create a new bond account, your RBO account as well, right? So that is in itself a process.
The bond board. Delegated authority. I see some crazy stuff around that. So who's got the company credit card?
Yep. And even your connections on that, Kylie, as well. Connections, right? There are some big money in referrals. Okay, where is that going to now? Make sure that comes over. Referral programs.
We see a lot of things have got question mark, and we're not giving legal advice. Rely on your own legal advice.
Yeah.
There's certain suppliers out there, and there's equity programs. Are they transferring with the ownership of the asset? Connection utilities. Where's the smoke alarms and compliance reports being fed back into?
Correct.
So guys, there is a lot, and I think the purpose of today's short and sharp session was to make sure that someone's doing it. Again, if you don't have time, then there's companies like us that are available to go in and do it, but you don't want liability You don't want leakage, and importantly, the client experience. So what happens, most of the problems happen in that first 6 months afterwards. So if you've only got retention for 3 months, how are you protecting yourself in months 4, 5, and 6 or longer? What payment plans are in place, honeymoon periods, fees that need to come back on during retention, salespeople.
Yes,
and
there's a big list.
relationships.
Exactly.
Profit share agreements you may not know about. So I think, guys, the message from today is we're kind of looking at this a bit like an auction process, right? It's not just auction day. There's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. We want industry to protect their asset. We want you to protect your people, and your landlords, tenants, and suppliers that do business with you. Prepare, get the right trusted advice and the right partners, but allow time, people. And if you have it prepared properly and you've got a great information memorandum from REGROWTH, and we help you with project management, you might even be able to simultaneously exchange and settle on the same day. How cool would that be? Which we have seen a couple of times.
Yes.
But there's a bit of heavy lifting to do before you get to that point. Guys, if you'd like to reach out and speak to anybody in our team around the services we can provide with health checks or DDs or project management, which is Sue's baby, then please just go to our website. All of our details are on there. We'd welcome any feedback in the comments, but we love this space. We think we're pretty good at it. So welcome feedback. And Sue, is there anything that you'd like to wrap with?
No, that's pretty much, you covered it all. We love the space, really enjoy what we do, and we just want to make sure your asset's protected and there's no surprises at the end. We want you to enjoy your asset and grow.
And we're evolving and learning all the time as well. So that's why we run our investment and acquisition courses during the course of the year as well. They're 1 days where we dive a little bit deeper on this. So if anyone's interested in finding out the dates for those next year, they're also on our website. Have a fantastic year, guys. The year ahead is promising, but just make sure if it's on the horizon for a rent roll acquisition or sale event that you do the work.
Thanks, Kylie.
Thanks, Sue. Bye.
See you.